A very good day to you, your friend Fanyamambo Kinuthia, and as usual, straight to the point. Kabla tufike hapo, watu wa tutam kujeni hapa. Watu wa tutam ndio wanakaanga hizi roho za kwanza hapa mbele. Hao ndio, watu wa tutam, hii video ni yenu, mkae hapa karibu. Pana kaa huko nyuma kwa klasi ya Fanyamambo. Now, quick one. I'm holding something here. It's called the Government-Owned Enterprises Act. Government-Owned Enterprises Act of 2025. Now, on the 21st of November 2025, your president, Watu wa Tutam, alipitisha one of the most, I would say the most heinous acts of parliament that has ever been created in this republic. Na hii kazi alisaidiwa na John Mbadi. Tarehe 5 December ikakuwa law. But let me tell you why I don't blame Kenyans for not knowing that this terrible piece of legislation was passed. Unajua ilipasiwa conveniently. By the way, Kenya Gazette utoka on Friday. The Friday of that week should have been the 28th of November 2025. But why was it brought on 27th of November 2025? Because on the 27th of November 2025, mimi na wewe tulikuwa wengine wako mbele, wengine wako Malava. Wala walikuwa mbele walikuwa wanasema wa mudhende. Wengine walikuwa wanasema nyoko ni wa mudhende mui. Unakumbuka hizo story? Kila mtu was engrossed in by elections. Ati mara DCP, mara UDP. I can tell you that is why this piece of legislation was passed on that day. But let me start from the end before we come this way. This piece of legislation has turned 65 parastatals, 65 into limited liability companies. 65 parastatals have become limited liability companies. Can you imagine ka legislation kamoja kanatengenezwa kwa bunge, kanaamka, and I'm going to show you because some of you think Fanyamambo is a madman. On page 572 of that document, they have listed East African Portland Cement, Kenya Electricity Generating Company, Kenya Power and Lighting, Kenya Agricultural Finance Corporation, Kenya Airports Authority, ndege zenyu zote. This one is now a limited liability company. Kenya Development Corporation, Kenya Literature Bureau, Kenya Ports Authority. Some people think Ports Authority ni Mombasa peke yake. Hata port ya Lamu iko hapo. Hata port ya Kisumu iko hapo. These are now limited liability companies. They are no longer parastatals. Do you know what that means, my good friends? Let me explain something to you. In 1978, the population of Kenya was about 15 million people. Our grandfathers then and our fathers that time, wakiwa wachache hivyo, wanauza maharagwe, wanauza kahawa, wanauza whatever, beans. That is how they were able to raise the taxation that expanded our airport. Alafu 1978 ikabadilishwa jina ikaitwa JKIA. 2026 we are 53 million Kenyans. 53 million of us tumeshindwa ku-expand, not to just to expand what our fathers and our grandfathers built when they were 15 million. Sisi hapa tuko 53 million. We cannot expand what 15 million people were able to build. Yani, a population of 53 million tunaanza kupigia muhindi mmoja magoti anaitwa Adani akuje atutengenezee airport, atupatie 240 billion. Kenyans, msikuwe lazy. 240 billion, divide by 30 years, and then divide by 53 million Kenyans, and divide by 365 days. Each Kenyan needs to just changa 40 cents per day. 40 cents for the next 30 days. Tutaweza kujijengea airport wetu. 53 million of us tunaenda kupigia muhindi mmoja magoti anaitwa Adani atujengee airport. Whereas our grandfathers, 15 million of them, with less taxation, hawakuwa na IT, hawakuwa na sophistication, they were able to build an airport. All I'm trying to tell you is that 65 state corporations have now become limited liability companies, na hatujui who the directors are going to be. This piece of legislation here even goes as far as telling us that they will be funded from taxpayers' money through systems that are not going to go through parliament. Muhoroni Sugar Company is gone. Nzoia Sugar Company. But I was looking at Nzoia. Wajua mnakaa hivi mnafikiria ati privatization of Nzoia to make profits, my friends. If you are the kind of person who deals with hectares, Nzoia Sugar Company has got about 3,600 hectares of land. If you're talking of acres, they have about 8,900 acres of land. Now it's becoming a it's becoming a limited liability company and moving from its status as what it was. This terrible, and I call it terrible, piece of legislation takes away the Kenya Fishing Industries Commission, Kenya Meat Commission, Post Office Savings Bank, Commodities Fund, Nyayo T-Zones, Kenya Literature Bill, zote zimeenda. Sasa zitakuwa kampuni na madirector hatujui. But I can propose to this administration. There's some people who've been faithful. Yeah? Because I have read, na Wakenya musome msikuwe lazy. I have read the qualifications of the directors. Hawataki kusema okay, the CEOs na wengine wamepatiwa good qualifications. Lakini directors wanasema directors must not be affiliated. So wale watu wana propose na wana support two term. My good friend Wamobi, wewe utapewa kiti, unaweza patiwa railways. A good friend Modegu huyu wa Embu. That one we can recommend that apatiwe Kenya Meat Commission. Kawajiko is a good person. He smiles very nice. He's a good person. He has supported this administration. He can be made a director. Maybe apatiwe, tumpatie gani? East Africa Portland Cement. Kenya Airports Authority. Kuna engineers. Unajua engineer anaweza patiwa Kenya Airports Authority around. Because according to this act, and I challenge you to read it, the directors, nobody speaks about their levels of education. The only places they speak of levels of education are the CEOs. The Minister for Finance has been given sweeping powers over these 65 parastatals. Leo niliwaambia hii kitu itakuwa ni phase 1. Hii ni part 1 ya hii kitu. Tutakuwa tunaongelelea hii bill, tunaichambua pole pole. But today I wanted to just introduce to you the Kenya Government Owned Enterprises Act of 2025 ambayo ilipitishwa na ikagazetiwa when we were discussing wa Movende Mui and all the by-elections that were happening around that time. It was very timely. In fact, on the day that this thing was gazetted, it was now on the 5th of January. Do you know what Kenya was doing on the 5th of January? I can tell you. The president had gone to the US. Hiyo time ndio mlikuwa mnaongea juu ya 207 billion za health. Mnakumbuka ile deal ya health na USA ilikuwa ina happen hiyo time. Nisemio the same time walikuwa wameannounce ati Safaricom inauzwa. All I'm telling you, today I got a message. I got a message from my bank telling me to buy Kenya Pipeline. Why? Kenya Pipeline is here. It's now become a limited liability company and we are still yet to know who the directors are. 65 state parastatals. But the last thing I'm going to say, and the very last thing, is the powers that this terrible piece of legislation has conferred upon itself. Imagine haka kitu kamejipatia powers. Powers za kurepeal acts of parliament. Nitawasomea tu kamoja wa Kenya msichoke. Niliwaambia video ya leo si yule mtu akona haraka. Kama uko na haraka unaenda, lakini tulisema watu wa two term wakae hapa hivi ndio wakifaint. Watu wa one term mnawapulizia mnawaambia jipeni moyo. Watu wa one term mnakaa nyuma, watu wa two term kwa klasi yafanya mambo mnakaa hapa mbele if you know, so that you know what kind of government you are supporting. What has this act done? Hii ni ya mwisho, namaliza, namaliza. Hii class namaliza. Msiboeke, hii ni ya mwisho. Sikiza hapa. The Tourism Act